Welcome to C2 Biz Growth Iron Sharpens Iron podcast, where CEOs and entrepreneurs share how they are overcoming business growth and sustainability challenges.
Hi, I'm John Hale III, and we are excited and honored today to have as our guest, David Moody. David is the founder, president of Moody Construction Company, founded in 1988. CDM is an award-winning general contractor and construction management company, completing over 200 commercial projects with an aggregate value in excess of $4 billion. Welcome, David. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Yes, it is. So, yeah, thank you. Glad you're here as well. Hey, we wanted to start today to get a little bit of understanding of how you're showing up today, meaning we see you today as a successful CEO, business owner. How did you start this journey? And was there anything specific in your background, childhood, early career that really helped to move you forward?
Reluctant entrepreneur, let me make that real clear.
Okay.
But I'm one of those folks who are very fortunate to be doing what they dreamed of doing as a child.
Okay.
I grew up playing with Lego building blocks, erector sets, but I actually started my journey wanting to be a draftsman because the older boy, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, 69, so I grew up in the 60s. So I used to watch the older boys in my neighborhood with their little portable drafting tables, catching the bus to go to vocational high school, and they would show me their drawings. And you got to think, in the 60s, I hadn't even met or thought there was a black architect, but
Right.
a lot of men of color were draftsmen. Because you got to remember, this is before computers and all that.
Yep.
So somebody actually had to do all the drawings.
Yes.
So what happened for me was we moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan when I was 14.
Okay.
And at 15, I met my first black architect, Mr. David Bird. He became my mentor. He was a Hampton graduate. But when he went to architecture school, architects took building courses too, and masonry, carpentry, and all sort of courses because they became master builders. So in reality, I was trained to be a contractor, but I thought my original journey was architecture. After I finished Morehouse, I went to Howard and got my degree in architecture, started my career in architecture. And what happened was in 1981, I was working for Vector Power Corporation, one of the largest privately owned engineering construction companies in the world. And my dad always told me, he said, son, wherever they want you to go, you go. That way you always have a job. So the architect chief came down and said, hey, we need one of the architects to go out to this nuclear power plant job site. And I raised my hand and I got out there, the noise, the action, and I just fell in love with, okay, this is what I want to do. So I made my pivot from architecture to construction. But the important piece is I always tell people, be careful telling people to chase their passion, because my passion was architecture, but you also got to know what you're good at doing, what fits you. Construction fit me. So I just took my architectural knowledge in the construction, and that's really how I got into construction.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. That is a phenomenal story. And by the way, where was the nuclear site that you went to work?
Worked on Fermi. Well, first one I worked on was Midland, Michigan, the Midland plant. And I worked on the Fermi plant near Monroe, Michigan.
Okay. No, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And why do companies over these last years, why do companies hire you guys, Moody Construction? Why do they hire you, and what do you provide that you think they can't get someplace else?
Well, I think what we do differently is we really want to make it a great experience, because you got a lot of moving pieces in construction. You got architects, sometimes program managers, you got a lot of subs, the client. And if you're not careful, everybody can be adversarial. So what we really work on is a team approach. We're very selective who we do business with. And so we make sure it's the right fit for everybody. But I think what we do best is safety. We do a quality job. We're going to make sure it's a great experience, and we love what we do.
Okay. Gotcha. And so how are you thriving in an industry as a GC that's known for sharp elbows and then in some cases having some real tight margins? What's your secret sauce?
Well, live beneath my means. I've never had an expensive lifestyle.
Okay.
I never really worried about my competition. My competition is me. Your own mental strength and things like that. So I make sure that I don't allow myself to focus on because there's a lot of contractors out here. And if you start worrying about all your competition, you're losing focus on what you need to do. So
Right.
what I've really done is just focus on us being good, hiring really good people, training people, giving people opportunities, and providing a really good product. And if you do all those things, you're fortunate enough, you might make money along the way. But it's never been about how wealthy could I be, how rich could I be, because I started this company undercapitalized and broke. So it's never been about money.
Right, right. Well, thank you. That led right to my next question. This is great. I know you had your first contract. You had a handful of employees.
Right.
So I guess you had your first contract and kind of broke, to use your language, not mine. But so what were the calculated risks or bold moves you took along the way? That, as we know, the first 3 to 4 years to any company
Oh
is the
man.
hardest to get out of.
And I'm going to say this, and I hope people will understand I'm serious when I say this. God just had a plan for me. That's all it is. I'm just telling you, because I was undercapitalized. Actually, we started a business in 88. In 92, I actually had a nervous breakdown from a childhood trauma that I hadn't disclosed. I mean, I talk publicly about it now, but we won't dig into it here. But
Right.
God has had a plan for me. In fact, in 1991, I was talking to Michael Jordan about investing in my company. He was good friends with somebody I knew in construction in South Carolina and introduced us. They were very interested. I still have the picture of where Michael sent to me saying, good luck to our construction company, and he was dunking a basketball. And they were super nice to me. I got a chance to talk with him, and I was dealing with his financial person. It was a great opportunity, but at the last minute, I turned him down. And I needed that. I think he was going to invest about $250,000, and I needed it. But a couple of things. I didn't want to borrow. I didn't want to have somebody invest in me. I'm responsible for their money. Two, I really didn't know how to evaluate what I I really needed and what to give away. And the third and most important thing, within 7 to 8 months later, I had my breakdown, and I actually might have lost the company because they might have said, "Hey, man, you going through this? We need to do something different." So it was a lot of different things. But that probably was one of the real turning points. But after that, about 8 months later, we won the Olympic Stadium in a joint venture, and that's the job that really changed everything. But it has not been easy. And I tell people, entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. And I didn't realize all the things that is required to be an entrepreneur. And that's why I said I'm a reluctant entrepreneur, because reality, I was working for small. Let me kind of back up, because I got to kind of take you on this quick little journey. I got married in 1982, moved my wife and myself to Atlanta in 1983, came to work for a small company that went bankrupt 2 months after I got here. So now I don't have a job. And my wife hadn't found a job. So I had to just go kind of work wherever I could for small construction companies. And one of the ones I worked at, the last one, they also owned a bail bonding company. So the construction company was in the bail bonding office. So I could be doing an estimate in the back, and a person could be sitting next to me in handcuffs, So one day they asked me to go with them to go somewhere. I said, all right, I thought we were going to look at a project. And so we get to this house, and they open the trunk, and they start taking out these blue windbreakers and stuff. I'm like, what's going on? They said, man, you play football in college. We want you to get the back door. We got the front and the windows. We think one of our bail jumpers is in here. And I told him, I said, look, I'm telling you now, if he come out the back door, he's free. I'm just letting y'all know, because this is not what I do. So I went home and told my wife about it. And some people have been talking to me about an opportunity. And I just finally said, you know what, let's just go for it. So that's actually how I became an entrepreneur, because I didn't want to be a bounty hunter / contractor. working for this company. And me and the owner's son still laugh about that. And the other thing that in that process, I didn't really have a business plan. I didn't know what it's like to hire and payroll, the wear and tear. I didn't know any of these things. So it's probably best I didn't, because if I knew what I know now, then I might not have done it, because I didn't realize the wear and tear, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm just getting
Right.
started.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that story. We'll have to follow up later offline. But
Yeah, that was a classic.
if he's
That
come
was a
out the back
classic.
door, you can open the back door for you. Hey, my man, I got nothing.
I did like this. I told him, Olay, if he comes back here, it's Olay, baby. He's free. And
He's
that's when
free.
I said,
You said, brother, keep running.
yeah, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done.
Right,
I'm out.
right. Yeah, that was not the job description, right?
No, now, seriously. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a project manager. Why am I a bounty hunter?
Right, right. I love it.
Yeah, so that was a one time and I was done.
Mhm, mhm. You had mentioned that the Olympics were in Atlanta in 1996. So leading up to that, you got a joint venture, a great opportunity. Can you describe that partnership and maybe how other partnerships have been key to your success, to
Well,
your growth?
I've been very fortunate where I've had some great partners who really respected us as builders and not just somebody checking the box.
Mhm.
And we've been involved in some really good projects where we brought that knowledge back to our company. And I tell people, you got to be very careful who you partner up with, because not everybody really want to see you be successful. I've been very, very fortunate to have some of the most incredible partners in in the history of my business. But I'm very selective who I do business with.
Okay. Can you give us an example for our audience, for other CEOs who are listening? Maybe what's things you've learned over the years, just a couple pointers for lack of a better term, how to weed out people that are looking in your face, they want to partner with you, or maybe you want to see them, maybe you want to partner with them. What are a couple of things they should be asking themselves, or what should they be looking for in terms of potential
I kind
partners?
of look at joint ventures and partnerships like I do marriage. I've been married 43 years in November, and I'm really fortunate to have that.
Okay.
And one of the things I realized, you got to look at partnerships the same way. My wife and I, we like each other besides love each other. We like hanging out. We would hang out with each other even if we weren't dating or married. And to me, in partnerships and joint ventures, you gotta like the person. Y'all gotta have a lot in common. You would want to hang out with them. It can't just be business to me. That's how I look at it. But also, we bring things to the table. They bring things to the table. It's not a one-sided relationship. And I think that's what's really important. But we also do a lot of work on our own. And I think you got to make sure you have a good balance.
Gotcha. So as I don't remember the song, but I remember the singer. Teddy Pendergrass said not 70-30, not 60-40, but 50-50.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
Yep.
that's real. I mean,
Right.
I think that's very, very important. And you build relationships, you build trust, and you want people to have the same values as you, and integrity and honesty, because that's the only way we're going to do business. And
Gotcha.
that's what we look for. So it's people, and they want to see you do well, and you want to see them do well. I mean, I have a partner, owner of a company that, I remember the first time he got to 1 billion, and then 5 billion and 8 billion. And I always send him a congratulations, because I'm so proud and happy for him. I cheer for other people doing well, because that lets me know that there's opportunities for me to do well. But I don't hate on anybody. I don't get jealous, because look, it's plenty to go out there. It's plenty around. So you just got to find your spot and be real good at what you do. And the rest takes care of itself.
Right, right. Thank you for sharing that. And as you were scaling your business over these last 25 plus years or so, what's been some of the biggest challenge you faced scaling the company, and how'd you overcome those?
One is capital.
Okay.
Again, I'm just going to tell you, God just had a plan for me,
Okay,
because
gotcha.
I don't know how I made it sometimes. Because, one thing I didn't realize is when I started this journey, you kind of forget you eat what you kill, and you always on the hunt. but I didn't realize how many jobs you go after that you don't get. And you got to start hiring people and people counting on you and that wear and tear. But I just never gave up. I never quit. And my wife, I was very fortunate. I'm very fortunate that I didn't have a lifestyle to feed to make my wife happy or myself happy. So it was very easy for us to live, very much beneath our means, and we still do. And because we know what it's like to need. I mean, when we first started, and what the other thing is, my wife went back and became a registered nurse. She went back to school when I started the business, and it took 2 years of nursing school to become a registered nurse and pass the exam. But my wife said she can always get a job as a registered nurse. So we knew we could at least have a steady income. So when she did that, that really made a difference. And she worked evenings and weekends. So that way our kids, because they were young, we never had to put them in a daycare or anything because either I was home or she was home. So we just rotated. Somehow we struggled through and made it. And there was a point where we were really struggling. We went, and I tell this to people all the time, when you start getting in financial trouble, don't wait till it's bad. Go to your creditors in advance. So we went to the mortgage company, credit card people, our car people. We told them what was going on. We told them what we could pay, and we kept our word. And every person gave us the opportunity. The mortgage company reduced our rate and put it on the back end. The car, credit cards, everybody worked with us because we did it before it got bad. We never missed a payment or anything, but we were struggling. And we realized, let's go and see if we could get help. They all gave us help. And the biggest thing I remember telling my wife, my only wealth building dream was, if I can get us out of debt, we'll never be back in debt. I've never had a dollar amount where I wanted to be worth this or that or this. My biggest thing was I never wanted to be in those shoes again where I had to go to people and say, can you reduce my payments? So that's why even to this day, we live very much beneath our means and very cautious how we spend money.
That's a valuable lesson,
And
David.
you
Thank
never
you for sharing.
forget that feeling. At least I.
No, no. Thank you for sharing that. No, that's fantastic. We've talked about investors and banks, and bonding. You talked about on the personal side. On the business side, how have you built those relationships with, be it private equity investors or debt investors for projects?
Well, actually,
Bonding
for
agents, yeah.
me, it was the profit we made, reinvest, and then my bank, Citizens Trust Bank, which is one of the largest Black-owned banks.
Mhm.
And they took the journey with me. And that meant a lot. They gave me a line of credit, and I was very cautious to use it. And just knowing you had that cushion, but it took time to build up to that. I think my first line of credit might have been 50 grand, and
Mhm.
but you you got to build a relationship. And I'm really pro community banks because normally they build a different relationship with entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
But build, whether it's a community bank or a large bank, entrepreneurs really need to build good relationships with their bank. But more importantly, they need to have good credit before they go to a bank. So don't let your credit get messed up and then try and become an entrepreneur. You're in trouble because they're going to look at your past history. So, and I was never one to want to take investors and stuff because I didn't want to lose somebody else's money. It's funny, like my guy who manages some of our money in stocks, he's picked a few of my stocks, but I always told him I'll pick my stocks because that way if something goes bad, it ain't you, it's me. So we have a healthy relationship where he picks certain ones and I pick, but overall, I pick the majority of it because I want to be responsible and don't want to ever say, hey, how did you cost me, some to lose money?
Right. No, thank you for sharing that. And that it seems like it really stitches together very nicely in terms of being a steward of your personal finances.
Yes, it's important.
And
And
then
we
in that
also,
trend, right, that, like you said, you want that relationship with as an entrepreneur, you want or need to develop that relationship. You start off on sound footing. You're not coming in explaining yourself
right.
about
It's,
your
it's
personal credit.
important. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to take care of your credit, your
Mhm.
personal credit. But also, my wife and I got in the habit very early in business. I started the foundation, and I think 2 years after I went in business, because I said, and it was only a couple of grand, but I said, let's get in the habit of giving now.
Mhm.
So if we ever really make some money, it'll be a habit and we feel good. And, we've got endowed scholarships now at Morehouse, Spelman, Howard, Central State, Georgia State, where my wife went to nursing school. And we do a lot in the community, giving back, not just resources, but time. And I just met with 3 young entrepreneurs yesterday from the Atlanta Business League in the Bridge program. I'm their mentor, and I'm helping them navigate, going to that next level. And I love working with young people who are serious about it because I remember being young, scared, worried, to capitalize. Could I make it? Wanted to quit multiple times. I mean, even after 37 years, there are days I'm like, man, let me just retire. But I'm just getting started. I mean,
Right.
in 2023, I went and hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. And I'm just really starting to find my footing because I'm finally starting to believe in myself because
Right.
I was always just in survivor mode and I really didn't get out of it. Even though we became successful, I stayed in that survivor mode of just hanging on. And I'm finally feeling secure enough to believe, you know what? You're going to be all right.
Yep. Yeah. You're gonna be all right. And you've been doing something right all these years.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to ask about the foundation, since you kind of start off there. And why is that so important to you and your wife? Why is that? It seems like this is part of your DNA.
Because somebody, I came to Morehouse on a football scholarship. Somebody gave money for me to have a scholarship.
Mhm.
And I just remember classmates not being able to finish Morehouse because when I went to Morehouse, I graduated in 1978. Tuition was $1,500 and room and board was $1,500. So it was 3,000 total. And I remember some classmates couldn't finish school because they were $500 short.
Hmm.
And I never forgot some of those things. And I'm pro HBCU also. Um, and I just felt that as we, developed and built some wealth, even when we had minimum, it was important to give back, because somebody gave for me, and I'll never forget that. And I always think about that. So it was just something that I felt, you know, it was a duty. It's a responsibility if you can to give back and help others because none of us get here alone.
Right. Right. No, thank you for sharing that. That is so very true. Um, in your industry and in the work you're doing, we hear a lot about obviously technology, generative AI before that. How are you leveraging that in your industry and your
Well,
company?
I'm really fortunate. I have a son who
Mhm.
has a degree in finance from Morehouse,
Okay.
master's in instructional technology from Georgia State, and then his MBA from Georgia Tech. He's an IT nerd, and
Right.
so he's starting to get into the AI
Mhm.
group. So I'm letting him and the other folks in the company who are young. They're gonna tell me how we're gonna leverage AI. I just
Right.
play around with it, but
Right.
one thing I do is know what I don't know, and that's not something I want to get my head around trying to grasp other than the
Sure.
basics. But
Mhm.
I'm fortunate enough to have a son who's in that, who's learning, um, who really wants to leverage AI.
Right. Right. No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And when you look at other companies and other CEOs over the years, what are some common mistakes that you see them making, and is there ways that they can avoid these traps and pitfalls?
How can CEOs or entrepreneurs avoid the traps and pitfalls of entrepreneurship?
Or just as they're trying to scale their business, what are some
Oh,
of the
trying to
things
scale, right?
right, when they're trying to grow and scale, what are some mistakes maybe or missteps you've seen,
To me, this is just
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah, mhm,
Okay, and this is a guy who's 69 now, so I might not have gave this same answer in my 40s or 30s.
okay,
Uh, be patient.
mhm,
Got to be patient. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Pay attention. Don't chase money. Chase being really good at what you do. The money will come. And I'm fortunate to have some really, really good people. I got my son and my daughter in the business, and I never get, I think what you have to be careful in scaling when you have some wins, from big wins and good wins, no, there are going to be some losses too. You're not going to just, everything's going to always be perfect. And I think you have to be prepared for that. That's why I kind of chuckle. I was a C student in college and high school. And one of the things I learned when you're a C student, nothing's expected of you. So I didn't have a lot of pressure on me to make it because nobody thought I would do what I'm doing anyway. So when I think about people who are high achievers and when they start hitting them bumps and things don't go well, a lot of people can't handle that. And so when I had my bumps and losses, yeah, I was disappointed. I'd be sad, but I'm like, hey, get back up. Let's go. Cause nobody expecting you to make it this long anyway. So I just look at things a little different.
Right.
And also I'm very family oriented. And as long as my family's healthy and, we're doing decent and we can keep going, every day is just another day to try and figure out how to do it better. But you do have to be careful as you scale, realizing as you take more risks, there's also more losses that can happen. The reward, it can be greater, but the losses can too. And you can easily have one bad job and put you out of business.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, this is real. So I think scaling, and I think the other thing about scaling, what I didn't do, I didn't dream big. Like I told you, I was born in 1956. So I was raised in the 60s.
Right.
So I was raised when, a person of color being a big contractor or architect or something didn't even exist. And it was only a handful when I went to college that I knew of. So I really limited my dreams because I just thought this is about as far as I could go. So what I really tell young people today, please dream bigger than you ever could imagine because you really can achieve it. I'm just now starting to say, you know what? Okay, let's do this. Like we've gotten into mission critical work and stuff like that. And it's been a great experience for that over the last 4 years. But before that, I really did limit myself. And I'm not ashamed to say that. It's not that I didn't believe. I think I didn't want to be hurt. Like I just didn't want to be hurt. Like, well, this is as far as you can go because of whatever reason. And I just didn't dream big because you think about it, I didn't come from entrepreneurs. There were really no entrepreneurs in my family. Really, and the architect who was my mentor was like a 1-2 man shop. So I knew that small business, but big business, entrepreneurs, people of color in engineering construction, other than Mr. Russell, who I got to know extremely well here in Atlanta,
Right.
It just didn't seem real.
Understood. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And lastly, I want to get a sense of what's next for you and the company. So what's the next hill to climb for David Moody and
Wow.
CD Moody Construction?
Well, it's funny. I don't have a retirement date. I'm getting the next generation ready of people to run it. And hopefully one day, in the near future, I'll be chairman. But my wife doesn't want me home all day, and I don't want to be home all day. I really enjoy doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I do want to stay engaged. But what I'm enjoying more is teaching that next generation and helping others believe in themselves and go for it. And I'm a big proponent of mental health because I had that breakdown from a childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So I really talk a lot too about well-being. And in fact, I'm working now on starting virtual stretching and meditation classes for my staff. We're in 5 states and we're going to set it up so wherever they're located, have an instructor that we're going to do stretching and meditation virtually. So the mental health well-being is very, very important to me.
Understood. Well, David, we want to thank you for being a guest today. We're excited
Thank you for having me.
yeah, with the journey that you've had and what's next to come. And thank you for just being yourself and keeping it real. And we want to thank everyone for joining us today on C2 Biz Growth, Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, Spotify, thecornerstonegroup.us, and other locations. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and share. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the C2 Biz Growth Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. And check us out on social media, share, and subscribe.